Yeah, you are being recorded. Just
Yeah, we're all recording.
okay. Great.
Ready?
Hello and welcome.
Talon loves the claps.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Give it
Hello and welcome to another episode of Did I Say Podcast, where we talk about
That can't be your start. You've got to lean into your own brand.
That's right, bro.
the past, present, and future of video games. Video games. And this will be obviously my last intro.
Talon's going to record his
cut it
own
all
intro
out.
to this. Hey guys, so the intro was unusable.
So for today's episode, you want to talk about pet peeves with video games.
Indeed.
Okay. I see.
Can we start over?
Yeah. No hot seat for Ryan anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Ryan's proven he's not ready for the responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to do, so I don't have to be in this situation again.
Okay. I got that vibe.
If you didn't want to be in the hot seat, man, you didn't have to be.
So we're talking about pet peeves, your top pet peeves for video games.
Yes.
Yes.
Things you just, when you play a video game, you come across this and you just want to know why they thought this would be a good idea.
You're like, oh, you stopped here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. So if you like the game,
No particular order. It's
Yeah.
just things
not
that
necessarily a
stand out
bad
to us.
game,
Right.
Yes.
just something
worth mentioning.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about not games, but things in the games that frustrate us.
Yeah.
But who do we want to start off with? Are we just going to hop into it?
We should have asked beforehand who has the most. We could start with them, but
Who
we
has
can really start anywhere, and we'll just jump in. Talon,
Man, I have so many. I woke up dark.
you don't even have a list. That's how many
Yeah.
you have. You're like, I'm confident.
And
I
it-
can
and
pull
if
as many
you-
as I need from the top of my
And
head.
we'll treat it like our top five. Like if you say something that's in our list, we'll just talk about it.
That's
Chime
fine.
in, yeah.
Yeah. You know,
But
I woke up dark and bitter this morning.
Yeah.
So just thinking about it.
Just went back and played all those games with the pet peeves. You know, like, I do still hate you.
Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to pick some of them because it's like, is this just the direction they're going? And do I need to just be less critical or just get
Yeah.
over it?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, because there's some games that I really enjoy, and they have like mediocre combat, but I can push through that just because I enjoy playing the game. But one of the biggest pet peeves for me, going back to when we were younger, a lot of RPG games, when you get new equipment and new swords, you equip it and it doesn't change the character's outfit or the sword.
Ooh, that's a really good
I
pet
thought
peeve.
about that one for mine.
Games that don't change the aesthetics
Yeah.
of your character do drive me
Yeah.
crazy.
But there's a lot of games that I love that do this, like Final Fantasy Tactics, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes is the weapon. And when you change their class, they change their look. But you get a ton of gear you put on them.
that
and
was
it
enough
doesn't
for
do
me,
anything.
though, in those
Yeah.
games.
And same for me. The weapon changing was great. And the weapon, they changed their look with the class. So, yeah.
It might be obvious, but I think it's worth pointing out that like the pet peeve is only as bad as like how it fits into the bigger scheme of the game. If the game itself is great,
Right.
if it's Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, that stuff doesn't bother you as much.
Yeah.
But any game you play for that long, you're going to start to have these little like rough spots that you keep bumping over.
Or you're playing a first-person game where it's first-person exclusive, and you get all this crazy, cool-looking
Yeah.
gear that you never
It's like
see.
Borderlands
and
or
you-
something.
yeah.
Well,
The
Borderlands
first
doesn't
Elder
change
Scrolls
either, I guess,
games,
but-
like 1 and 2, Elder Scrolls 1 and 2, like they're pretty much all. I'm pretty sure those are both just first-person exclusives.
Okay.
yeah.
But of course, even
you can
if you
go
had,
into third person in those games, but who would do that?
Can you go
It,
into
it makes the controls really weird if you
Yeah,
go into third
I'm
person.
sure.
yeah. But I mean, obviously that game didn't have gorgeous graphics, so you're not too hurt that you couldn't see your terrible-looking
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
But,
I just
you
remember
know.
playing, like, especially during the PS2 era, tons of JRPGs. Like, I loved RPGs, sunk a ton of hours into them, but that was one of the most frustrating things is it'll be like, you know, Dragon Slayer, and you click on it, and your character's still wearing, like, his little homely outfit he left when he left his house
This is
30
my
hours
level
back.
99 gear.
And I'm like,
I'm
why?
ready to fight
Yeah.
the big
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of that has been fixed in more modern games, but I just remember as a kid that being very frustrating, not being able to see the aesthetics, even if it like doesn't have anything to do, like it doesn't actually increase, like your weapon. Maybe it's like a like it's just an aesthetic piece. You know what I mean? But it's like, what would be the point of that, even if you click on it and it doesn't change it?
And nowadays, your best aesthetic pieces are pretty much behind paywalls. Nowadays, with the new video games,
100%.
like Diablo
Very often
4,
true.
you get a lot of good looking sets, but those amazing, incredible sets, you're paying like, what are they, like $20?
Is that a pet peeve of yours?
Well, it should be on the list. I suppose.
Microtransactions are just a general plague. On
I think
the
that's
site.
such a big pet peeve for everyone at
everybody,
this point. And why mention it? I don't know.
Related to yours, not on my list, but when you are playing a game and you get gear that does change your look, but now it's all mismatched because you want a certain build, and so it's just you look like you are a 6-year-old who dressed themselves for school.
Kingdom of Amalur.
Yeah, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kingdoms of Amalur. That game. You looked so hilarious.
So stupid.
Like,
Just give me like the thing that MMOs do, where you can just transmod gear and make it look however like any gear you've collected so far.
Or just a simple die mechanic would have helped that game a lot.
100%. Yeah.
And Divinity Original Sin 2, I would put a mod in that let you dye your armor. Which when I downloaded it was a little buggy, but at least I could get it to work. Yeah, better than nothing.
That's how you know it's a pet peeve, because you looked for a mod to solve it.
fix it.
And that's usually that's the great thing about PC gaming is you might find a mod to fix some of your pet
very true.
peeves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Related to yours and on my list is whenever you get RPGs or action games, anything really, that either one of two things, they either give you gear and there's like tons of gear to choose from, but it's meaningless. It's like it doesn't actually do anything different enough to justify like having this much gear. Like you should have cut half of these and then just focused on making what's left more impactful to combat or whatever. And the other side is like skill trees in RPGs, where there's like a node that you have to select to get to the good upgrade, and it's like speed plus 0.3%. And I'm like, so I put all that effort into grinding and leveling up to get an improvement that is literally not noticeable whatsoever.
Yeah.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine.
That is
like,
a good one.
Final Fantasy X had the sphere grid where it had lots of really cool skills, and it may have had useless skills, I don't remember. But games like what's the MMO that is like a loot grind?
You're talking about Path of Exile?
Path of Exile
Is
does
what
this
immediately
horrifically. It
I
is
actually
like,
love
I love the concept of the skill tree, but the thing is, like, there are so many opportunities where it's like defense plus 10 and my defense is like 1200 and I'm like, okay, this isn't even a 1% increase in my defense. Like, why am I doing this?
That stuff accrues over time. Like I did a rogue build on that game, and I just every speed node I could get, and it just was hilarious. The attack speed is what specifically not speed, but
that's what it's really for, is min-maxing, right?
Yeah.
It's like if it makes you have to think about the route that you're supposed to go through, but the thing is, there are smarter ways, in my opinion, to do that same thing without making it feel so bad to gain a level that feels like you're skipping a level, basically.
Well, they gave you a lot of freedom with that sphere grid. You could pretty much go anywhere you want. You had to hit points first to get there, but then Final Fantasy X is pretty linear with their sphere grid. If
you start at the center, right, and you work your way out.
Yeah, everyone starts at a different spot,
but they connect.
And eventually you can connect and to get into other people's your other characters' trees. I played it kind of recently, Final Fantasy X. Okay. The remake that they did, but you'll have like an option to like go a different way, but then you'll quickly have to go back the way you were going. It's not like you can just go this all the other way and keep going.
Interesting.
Usually.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to pick on any game in particular. It was just Path of Exile is the first one to come to mind. But like,
it probably has the
anytime
biggest...
a game makes me feel like I'm wasting my time, in general, that sucks. But specifically with RPGs, like, because leveling up, especially in the later stages of the game, takes so much effort. Yeah. It's like,
yeah,
well,
if you want to feel,
I just wasted like an hour.
If you want to feel good about leveling up in Path of Exile, get 10 levels, and then put your points in. And
that's what I do in everything, and that's why I'm bad at Souls games, because I want to save up all my points, spend them all at once, and see a big jump in.
But if you go ahead and spend your points, it gets easier to farm experience to get points. So if you're like,
basically, like, dumping points is a late stage game because you're taking less of a risk anyway, because the build already works. You're just making it better. when the way I play it,
we
it
got
doesn't
off
work
on
out so great.
the biggest tangent.
Yeah.
That's okay.
This pet peeve. Did you have anything more you wanted to say?
No, mine.
No,
sorry,
no.
I jumped to mine,
for-
which
oh, you
was
did.
that was
Oh,
that
yeah,
one was
no,
on my
no.
list.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I figured why not have a little synergy?
That's
in our
right,
podcast.
man. That's
I
right.
just missed the.
Yeah, mine
Segue.
was the either when you go to buy gear and there's just like 1,000 pieces
Oh, yeah,
of
yeah.
gear, but
Right,
they all
right.
don't do very much,
Yeah.
or when a skill tree basically does that same thing.
Can I
Right.
move on to?
Yeah, man. Have
You
at it.
have my
Yeah.
permission.
No,
You'll
we're
have to ask
all-
Talon,
Okay.
but I mean,
Never
I'm fine with it.
My
You
pet
guys go
peeve is
ahead.
people that move on too quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Just kidding.
Sorry, guys. I'll do better next time. I
No,
guess.
no.
My biggest thing when I think of pet peeves of video games,
Yeah.
it's quick time events
Dang.
that don't belong where they are.
Yes.
And that is when a cutscene happens in a game that normally doesn't have quick time events. You've been playing this game and you're into it.
Surprise quick time
And
events, is
you
that
go
what
and grab your snack you've been snacking on, and your controller's
back to a game
on your
over.
lap. And no, like my snack is even next to me. And I go
Yeah.
and just grab it for half a second, and I
Yeah.
turn back, and it's like, you need to push B now.
Are you gonna die?
And, yeah.
Bro, you should have been pushing.
You should have pushed B. And then my character gets a sword through his face, and I have to start over from my last save point. But the
Is there a particular game you're thinking of?
one in particular is Assassin's Creed 2.
Okay.
When those
Okay.
games first came out, when the first Assassin's Creed game came
Yeah.
out, I was very into that.
Oh yeah. Blown away.
Played that game like crazy, and then Assassin's Creed 2 came out, and you play as Ezio in this one. You
Right.
play as Altair in the first.
Yeah.
And you have a friend named Leonardo da Vinci. You may have heard of him. Yeah.
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
yeah.
And there's a cutscene, and I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about immediately when I mention Assassin's Creed 2. I don't know if you guys do. Where Leonardo da Vinci asks for a hug in a cutscene
My door is always open. Grazie, my friend.
in a game that doesn't have QuickTime events and cutscenes until this moment. And if you don't hit X very quickly,
Di nulla.
Leonardo da Vinci just looks sad and walks away. He says it's nothing. So you have to revert to your last save, and people have done this, and I have done it just to get the hug.
My door is always open. Grazie, my friend. Di nulla.
Wow.
Down so that Leonardo da Vinci looks happy. Besides that,
Thinking
the
about
game
the
doesn't
Google
change.
results for Leonardo da Vinci being
Yeah.
tarnished by Leonardo da Vinci hug is really hilarious. to me.
The other game I think about is Shadow of Mordor, the first Middle Earth Shadow game.
That game ruled.
Yeah, that took Assassin's Creed and was starting to do everything that they should have been doing. Like
Yeah.
really cool stuff, creative stuff. I think they saw the Assassin's Creed games and were like, we could do that, but better, because these guys aren't doing it right.
Yeah.
Because every game they came out with was like pretty much the same. The combat was exactly the same, and it's pretty similar in Shadow of Mordor. But the final boss is just this quick, like you'll do a little combat, which has been the combat like normal, and then you'll just go like, you need to tap B, tap B because he's gonna stab you, and then that's the whole boss fight is like tap B real quick, and that's so terrible.
I think so. In the defense of QuickTime events, I know most people hate them, but in games like God of War, I think they can be really, really good at conveying.
You're talking about the new, like when they rebooted it, like God of War, not a reboot.
Yes,
but
yes.
Like, they
That's
continued
the one I'm
story.
thinking of. I think they've all done QuickTime events, but
Yeah.
the new one is the one I'm thinking.
The
Not
new
God
one
of War
does
2,
it
but God of
in-
War.
Yeah,
And
different way.
what is happening is like a scene that is playing out in a way that is too mechanically complex for the actual combat system, right? So the QuickTime events keep you engaged in the scene, and I guess you could argue that they'd be just as good as a cutscene, but I like being involved in that moment because typically their cutscenes are pretty epic and
Yeah.
satisfying.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so feeling like I'm contributing to how it plays out, even if it's fake, video games are fake.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's just an interesting way to keep me engaged, to keep me feeling like I have some agency, while they also do big bombastic fight scenes
from
that
the
you couldn't
get-go
do
on that
normally.
game when you're fighting that dude with the beard, the skinny dude with the beard, and all the tattoos.
Yeah, I was trying to think of his name, but yeah, like
from the get-go, that game is doing like quick time events in the cutscenes, but it feels epic.
And it's like a Dragon Ball Z fight.
Yeah.
You're like
Yeah.
throwing each other through rocks.
Yeah.
Like it's wild. So that's what I think it can be done well.
Yeah.
But so many games, it's just like an opportunity for them to cut corners by they're like, I don't know, press B.
And
I don't know,
I never like
Just hug Da Vinci.
I never
okay?
a cutscene never happened in that game, and I was like, "Let me take a little break." No, I knew what was going to happen.
I wasn't reaching for
Yeah,
no
and
snacks.
I'm also
Yeah.
super
In God of
into
War.
what was happening that I'm not like looking away. Over.
Right.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's the caveat, right? Is like the cutscene itself has to be
When it's a
engaging enough
converse-
that you want it. Asura's Wrath is just
I also think
quick
of
time
that
events.
when you
That
think
whole
quick time
game.
events, you have to think of Azura's Wrath.
yeah.
I've never
and
played
that
it,
game-
but I've watched you play
should-
it quite
yeah,
a bit.
you should play
Yeah.
it.
This game is insane.
It's what I wish like Dragon Ball Super was. It's just like a nice 4-hour version of Dragon Ball
Yeah.
Z.
Yeah.
basically.
I know
It's
that
crazy.
game is ridiculous. I watched you play quite
Yeah,
a bit.
it's
That
really
game's
cool.
insane. For all the right reasons.
That's I know there are more examples that I have come across in my many years of gaming.
Yeah.
But those are the two that like highlight quick time event. Like
Right.
just
Yeah.
poor quick time events in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, I agree. And I think Resident Evil 4 kind of catapulted all
See,
that
I didn't
stuff.
play a lot of those. But
Because, I mean, man.
The like save yourself button prompts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's effectively what you're doing in every button prompt, but Resident Evil's very much like you will see a very gory, violent, like
If you don't hit this right now.
traumatizing death
Yeah.
if you don't.
Yeah.
And they really do go above and beyond. Like I've only ever seen it through like TikToks or whatever, but like the laser grid scene
Yes,
in the
right.
remake where oh man, that's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal.
Pretty
So I think it's cool that Resident Evil does do something to make it feel a little bit more their own. And you're probably right that anytime a game does it particularly well, it just encourages other
A
studios
popular
to
game
want to
does
jump on that
something
bandwagon.
well. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what they're doing? That's what we're going to do.
We didn't think to do that.
Yeah.
Now that's all we're gonna think about doing.
Right.
Looking at
Instead
you,
of just
Pal
being
World.
creative.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm not.
Anyways,
I'm not looking at that one.
That's right.
did you want to go with your next one?
No, go ahead.
It's you.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was you.
That was me.
Button
That was
prompts.
yeah.
Mine is when a game doesn't let you save wherever you want.
Yeah. Well,
whatever
I
you
mean,
want.
that's surprising coming from you because not Silent Hill,
What if-
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
What if
Yeah.
Dark Souls saves for you
Dark Souls does
That-
save.
that
when
is-
you die and lose all your stuff?
That's
And they're
what it
like, "Don't
does.
worry, we got this. We got
Yeah.
this.
It works.
captured."
It works.
What you
for
do
me.
is you just
It
you
works.
unplug your Xbox.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it did work.
yeah.
That's how I won a lot of Halo 2 multiplayer matches. Stand by, lad. Okay, so that's actually a good reference point. So, like,
Yeah.
explain a little bit more about
Because-
like, where's
well,
the line
mine-
for you with like using typewriters in Resident Evil
Yeah.
versus being able to save anywhere? Like, how do you differentiate
The difference.
one being acceptable and one being a
Yes.
huge pet peeve?
Good question.
Okay.
Dark Souls works for me because it saves all the flipping time.
Yeah.
And
And that's the point of the game.
right. Yeah.
You
Basi-
make mistakes
every
For
decision,
better or worse,
Yeah.
it will
yeah,
save.
for
Yeah.
every decision.
Yeah, it will lock you in.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that.
You have
Yeah.
to crawl your way from nothing
Yeah.
several times.
Resident Evil never bothered me because it just felt like it was like a part of the tension. And you do
Yeah.
find
It is
That's what I
Definitely.
think separates it,
Subset.
is when why can't I save whenever I want? Oh, it's
Right.
because tension.
That's
So
what
I
I was
do
gonna
think
say.
when
So
it
if
does-
it's part of the mechanical structure of the game, that like
Yeah.
the level design is kind of predicated on the fact that you have to make it all the way through to get to the save point.
Right.
Right.
Because I'll just save
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
all
wow.
the time.
Yeah.
I'll just save scum my way through
Yeah.
this whole game.
Save skin. Yeah.
If you buy this game, they're saying this game isn't
Yeah.
scary or hard. Now, if you buy it, they do hire someone to find you and kill you.
Every time you try and save, someone comes up behind you and puts their hand over your eyes.
Yeah.
That's right. So, but my thing is, I think, is when if the game saves you and it's like right before a boss battle, or you immediately load in, and for some reason I think Skyrim, you immediately load in, here's the giant, bam,
Yeah.
and then it loads you back, bam, and it
Yeah.
happens, and it's just like, okay, that's annoying. Why did you do that? You know what
Oh,
I mean?
bad
Stuff like-
bad auto saving could definitely be on
Yeah.
my list. Is
Yeah.
it when the game inadvertently traps you and you're like, cool, I get
Yeah.
my last
Yeah.
manual save is 4 hours ago because you auto save all the time. So I guess I'll just go back.
I think
Right.
I think bad autosave, and I think they've obviously patched it a little bit, but Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin, Like their auto saves.
I've been put in a real bad situation in Baldur's Gate 3 before.
Yeah, you're playing that game when you're immersed in it, and you forget about saving, and then you die, and your auto save is.
Unless you're like me and you never forget and you save all the time.
Exactly. And well, if you're perfect, like
I buy this outfit, save.
Yeah.
I talk to Carla, save.
Yeah.
Load it because I want to talk to her again, and then save again.
Or if you're,
I adore you, you know.
I think they call it save scum on that game, where
you go
you
back
save to fix a roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You'll just load your last save over and over until
that's why I'll never be able to play that game again.
Because
you've already seen everything.
I'm playing on.
Yeah, I can't help it, man. I'm just save scum, dude.
I don't think like I'll defend save scumming because the thing is like
I
think
think
that it is a temporary solution for not that Baldur's Gate 3, I'm not trying to harp on it specifically, but save scumming is typically a product of bad game design or unsatisfying game design. Like think about XCOM, a game where it says you have a 95% chance of hitting the enemy and you miss.
There's a mod for that.
Way too often for it to actually be 95%.
There's a mod for that.
And I think they fudged the numbers to create tension. But yeah, so basically in XCOM, you're like trying to hit them. You have 95% chance, but somehow you miss like 8 times on a 95% chance per mission or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that is where I'm like, I'm just going to save scum my way through this because it feels like you're trying to cheat
felt like a 50-50.
me.
Right.
So I'm just going to cheat you back. Yeah. And now we're on a level playing field.
Yeah.
And
that was more of a bug, I think, in that game than
it's possible,
the design.
Yeah. I know like there are a lot of little like game design workarounds that they use to try, like BioShock, they said like the enemy will always miss their first shot at you because they want the player to have an opportunity to know that the enemy is there. So if the enemy is outside your field of view, they'll never hit you in their first shot. So little stuff like that. Maybe XCOM's doing that to make it feel like that. Their idea of building tension is you have a 95% chance, but you missed.
You missed. Can you believe it? Wow.
I would prefer not to have that kind of tension. I'm trying to plan a heist here.
Right. Exactly. So.
Yep. I guess my next one, I was trying to find a good segue for some of these, but one of my biggest ones is games where they revolve around gun-based combat, shooting stuff, where shooting stuff feels either very ineffective or just bad. And the first game that I think of is Uncharted. That whole series, when you shoot people, it feels like you're hitting them with paintballs. Like there's no recoil, there's no like sign, like until they die, shooting them means nothing. It doesn't stop their animations. They don't seem to really react. The gun doesn't feel like it's like tactically, haptically, you're not getting feedback from your weapons. It feels so mad that like I never made it through an Uncharted game because the gunplay felt so uninspired to me. And the rest of the game seems amazing. You know, it's just a big action movie for like 10 hours.
Right.
But the combat was just so unimpressive to me that I never felt like the verbs that they were giving me to interact with this world mattered very much. Like it's just like wait till they fall down and move on. But what I'm doing to make them fall down and move on is not satisfying. So why would I want to move on? Like if you want to see the story unfold, that makes total sense.
Right.
But I just can't get past games that don't understand how to, like Helldivers is the antithesis of that. Like Helldivers feel so good to shoot everything. The robots like bits are always like flying off of them.
Those guns feel punchy.
Yes, like, super punchy.
I thought you were going to mention Fallout. Like 3 or 4.
That's honestly
you'll have a legendary raider, and because it says he's legendary, he can just take 20 slugs to the face with a shotgun point blank for some reason.
There was a Tom Clancy's game where you're like an agent. I can't believe I don't remember the name, but you're an agent that gets activated after this virus like wipes out most of this city, and you have to come back, and it's like a loot-based multiplayer game. So it's like a light MMO element because there are zones where real people are running around and they can take your stuff. But that whole game it's an RPG. You're leveling up, you're unlocking like skills in a skill tree. But enemies are just normal people, all of them. There's no supernatural elements to the game or anything.
What was the game you were talking
about? I think it's called. I want to say it's Tom Clancy something.
I know what you're talking about. And I think they made a second one even.
They did. I played a little bit of it.
Talking about The Division?
The Division.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I kept wanting to call it the Unit. And I'm like, that's not right. The Division. The enemies, I've never seen a game where no narrative reason for it whatsoever. It's just this average man can now take 650 caliber rounds from my turret.
Yeah.
Just because it says the level 20 is next to his name.
No,
like nothing.
I remember you were very excited about that game before.
Yeah. Me too, actually.
Yeah. I played quite a bit of it with a friend of mine, and I just think that's what I mean when I say it's a huge pet peeve. Is like the rest of that game was pretty compelling for me, but the pace became so methodical just because gunplay didn't feel like it made any sense.
Yeah.
That I just never got.
Yeah.
As far as I want
it's not even like you could say the same thing about swordplay. I mean, you stab someone, they should die.
Bad combat is always bad.
Yeah.
It's just for me in particular,
and that's how I feel
should
about
feel like guns.
When I go back and play a game like Skyrim, that the combat feels very aged.
Yeah.
Although people still play and love that game, but I think the modding community is definitely the reason behind that. I think Bethesda thinks they're more the reason than.
Oh yeah,
there's
they definitely
no way that game survives without the.
They're like, well, we let.
You guys still play this game. Let's.
Well, we're the ones who put it on your local ATM. Yeah. Like what we're the ones who put it out there.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are so many games that go so far above and beyond, like Doom, Doom 2016. Holy cow, what a game!
Incredible.
No, it could the story is basically non-existent, and it does not matter one bit.
Get out of here, story.
That whole game is like a fever pitch. No, they had just enough story for me personally.
They should have a character name story, and you get to shoot them.
You're like, it's that game itself. That game is comical in the sense that it is like, bad guy tells you not to do something, or to like, this is the most valuable technology that we've ever created.
Yeah,
we need it to, and by the time he gets to that point, you're like stepping on it, and he's like, why? Just enough story for me to be like, yeah, that's right, buddy, I'm coming for you.
But even think about even if you went and played Doom 95 on the PC, the original Doom, which is what I played. That was I think my first real video game. You shoot the enemies and they only take a couple hits and they're dead. Yeah. Imagine going back then and you just boom, boom, boom.
And that's why,
like, man, this would not be fun because it's all about being fast, getting the next, getting the shotgun, getting the chainsaw, and you're just gonna mow some people down, and that's what makes it fun.
And that's what makes Helldivers fun is when you shoot something and it doesn't do any damage. Yeah, it's because you're shooting it wrong.
Right, yeah,
that's literally.
So you got to shoot it right.
Yeah,
and then
have you tried shooting it somewhere else?
Yeah. Well, it's just like Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, like zombies, sponges, and I'm like, why are these zombies? Helldivers fixes that by having multiple enemies die really quickly.
Everything, no matter how big it is, you can kill it with a few shots if you choose the right weapon.
Right.
And the thing is, that's what we were talking about the other night when we were playing it. Is like it takes gunplay to a level where the gunplay is what you're thinking about the next day. It creates these scenarios where you're like, I had 50 enemies around me.
Yeah.
I had one clip left on my heavy machine gun, and I survived. Like, let me tell you this story.
But it's like you also have an arsenal that's limited, so you have to have a team that has a mixed up arsenal, so you can tag enemies and let the player know that has the right thing, and that feels satisfying. Like, we got a heavy over here.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you have a rocket launcher? Take care of that.
It really gives people a sense of responsibility, even within a 4-person unit, about like, I brought the wrong way. Like, because there's 2 different types of enemies in the game, so different weapons are effective on different types. You might take a flamethrower in to fight robots. You're gonna have a bad time.
Oh, you'll have a good time.
Not gonna go. You'll have a good time, but it won't be a long time.
You got all you gotta do is yell yippee-ki-yay.
I tried that. You kept telling me to do that. It did not help.
No matter how many times.
The second thing I had down here was games that take forever to get to the game.
Man, preach it, brother, preach it.
And while I love this game,
I don't know why I didn't think about that one, but I'm so glad you said
I wrote down front-loaded tutorials, and that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Okay, have that, bro. Break it down for me.
I know you guys love the Monster Hunter series, but the one I played, and I tried to get back into it for you guys.
I think this is hammer on the head of the nail.
Okay. And I might have been right on the verge of like finally do the meat of the game, and I was like, no, I'm done.
Nope.
I don't know which Monster Hunter game
that guy
it was.
out the window.
If you tell me how to move forward one more time, I swear to God.
Now the D-pad does what? A button does what? B button does what? Like, I get it. I've played a game.
I know you've never heard of a video game before, so sit down and we'll tell you
Yeah.
what a controller is.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was very rough. I don't know which Monster Hunter game it was, and it was
Yeah.
when I tried to get back into it for you guys.
Probably World.
And
The other thing though is
I did like
you should play with friends. You should play
For
Monster Hunter with
100%.
friends. But the thing is, you'll never get there. Do you know how many friends I would be playing with if the game didn't take 45 minutes to get started?
Yeah.
And that's barely an exaggeration.
Yeah.
That game, and the game wants you to try, like this happens with a lot of games, but it wants you to try so many different weapons and they all feel so different. That's great. But if the 3 weapons out of the 15 that you try, because you're not there to spend all day trying every weapon, don't hit for you, you're going to think this game kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Because all these weapons are lame. When maybe you're one weapon away from being like, is this the best game ever? You know what I mean? It's like, and I wish they had a better way to structure all of that, because Ryan would be playing Monster Hunter right now if it weren't for the fact that they don't know how to front load
Monster
stuff.
Hunter is set up in the way that it's like it's everything that Ryan likes about a game.
I know.
He likes the loot.
You're preaching to the choir.
I know, man. It's like crazy monsters. You destroy them. You loot their gear. You make new gear.
The loop is so good.
Yeah, it's
I've
so
always wanted
good
to play a game where like I can kill a monster and make gear
from that monster.
And like plan your attack. Like you're watching them in their natural habitat. Like there's so much to love about it. But at the end of the day, it all comes back to, did you find a weapon that you feel satisfied using? And did you get, like, the thing is, the tutorial doesn't even tell you the important stuff.
No.
You know what I mean? Like tracking enemies and using items and
well,
like,
even
all
if the
that stuff,
tutorial
it's like,
did, the tutorial was throwing so much information at me,
Yeah.
and I was reading so much because I was like, well, if I play this game, if I get into this game and then I'm not doing something right, it's then my fault because I didn't take the time to read these tutorials.
Right.
But then I was just reading so much useless, understood information.
so much flavor text and stuff.
That I got tired.
And like story stuff where it's like, don't pretend you have a story, Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Monster kill.
I want to buy Monster Hunter for the story.
Yeah.
It's
I
in the
only
title,
play
my
that game
friend.
for the story.
Yeah, it's in the title, my friend. So,
I'm
that
with you.
wasn't even on my list for games, but it just came to mind when I started.
I just had to say it.
Yeah.
But the one that comes to my mind is Final Fantasy X. That game
13 for me.
13. I didn't play
All
as
of
much
them for me.
13
10,
is the most egregious in my opinion.
when it came out on PS2. Like I loved that game. But every time I started a new game, which I did 100 times, I dreaded it because it takes you like over an hour to get to like actually the meat of the game where you have your party and you're fighting monsters and leveling up.
where it feels like they're actually opening the gate and letting you out. And that's, I said front loaded tutorials, but that's a huge
This
thing
is
too.
a
Is
different
like
thing.
when they just stop, like when the feature is not available to you at all until you get to that point in the game. And that's why I said Final Fantasy 13, because I think you're like 30 hours in. So with Final Fantasy 13, you're like 30 hours in before
Actually, I
they
did play a lot
unlock
of
the
that
last game mechanic.
You play as a guy with a beanie like this, and he's got the hair that's flipped out. Is that the one? Or are you playing as the one with
That's
the...
lightning.
No, not
13
that
is the
lightning?
one. It's got
It's
lightning.
got 13 and 13 2.
13.2 is about lightning.
Snow is his name.
And actually, I like 13.2 quite a bit.
Which is the one where you play as Snow?
That's the Hunger Games, man, that you're thinking of.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
because it's lightning, snow, rain.
I think
Cloud. Oh, okay.
everything about Final Fantasy 13 feels a little bottled up to me. Just if we're padding for time here,
Yeah, pad for time.
I saw a graphic where someone took every map in Final Fantasy 13 and laid them out
It is
together.
13?
It is 13.
Snow Villiers is the character from Final
Oh, okay.
Fantasy 13.
Okay.
Well, every Final Fantasy game tries to emphatically make their way into my life, and I say no.
No, the buck stops here.
'Cause I'm not.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
Dude,
that guy.
is that you? Yeah,
I
you,
know,
bro?
right? When I had the long hair, if I was
Dude,
wearing this
100%.
For
How
the
come I never made
Dive
that
Long.
connection before?
I actually almost cosplayed as him.
Okay.
A while
I feel
back.
like you did say
Because
something
you
about
like
that.
Final Fantasy 13 so much.
I did like it when I played it. I didn't beat 13. It was a very long game.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
and that's kind of the most damning part of it, right? Is that like I've heard that after 40 hours it gets good.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
like, what a joke.
Man,
what a
what game
stupid
is
thing
it
to
that
say to
does that?
somebody.
Persona
Like
5.
I'm the only person in the world who would be even slightly moved by someone
something
telling
like
me
that.
40 hours and I'm
the new
I'm good.
Bethesda game,
Starfield?
Starfield.
is the one everyone's like, oh, you got to give it 60 hours, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
No.
I'm like, okay.
The new second newest Xenogears that was on the Switch. They just came out with the second one, I think.
Yeah.
The third one?
I'm pretty sure it's not Xenogears, is it?
No.
It's not Xenosaga. It's Xeno something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I literally
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Xenoblade Chronicles.
Thank you.
Gosh.
Everyone kept saying that game was really good, and I played it for 35 hours
first
before
one?
I gave up because
I mean, the
it's
second
not
one or
good.
the third one?
The first one that was on the Switch.
Okay, so the second one. Yeah.
So yeah, and it's I'm not going to get into that game, but
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing. It's like, how are you still like putting features behind a wall at a dozen hours?
Yeah.
Let me play the game.
Yeah.
Triangle Tactics is my other one. I think that game has amazing
Tactics or
gameplay.
strategy?
Turn the podcast off. Turn the podcast.
Triangle Tactics.
Turn the
I think
podcast
that game is a 10 out of 10 with a very frustrating thing that almost makes me knock it down to like a 9 because of that.
It takes so long to get going.
It is a game that's very political, and it sets up. It has a lot of setup for the story.
Okay.
And for me, I just want to get into the tactical gameplay.
I do think they front load the story a little
Yeah.
too much, but the story itself is incredible. It's not like
Yeah.
Monster Hunter where it's like,
Yeah.
we're going to tell you a story that you're not going to care about.
Yeah.
It is like the story is what makes triangle strategy so compelling to me.
Yeah.
and that's
I
not
would
what makes it compelling to me.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's
and
fair.
and that
That's fair.
so that's where we have
That's
to agree to
stupid,
disagree.
but fair.
I just love the gameplay of that
You're
game.
entitled
the
to your
gameplay-
wrong opinion.
The gameplay is great because I'm such a huge Final Fantasy Tactics fan.
Yeah.
This game was like finally someone who gets it.
Right.
Gets what I love about tactics games, and
Yeah.
they put a little spin on it, and it's great. Keeps it
And they're like,
fresh.
the thing you like is
And-
political tactics,
yeah.
right? And you're like, one of those words is great, and one of them needs to go away forever.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Whatever. I'm not
But
here to
there's other games out there, but those are just
Tail
some
and go
ones I
quick
think
before
of.
he keeps talking about triangles.
It's basically that we both love that game, but the reason why I haven't
that's
gone
true.
back to play it is I have a bad thing about when I'm playing a game and then I stop playing it and then I come back to it like 2 or 3 months later. I can't just pick up where I left off. I have to start a new game, and I don't. I'm just like
What I do with
So I
games
haven't-
like that, because I know that will happen, it happens to me all the time, I stop at a point where I'm grinding so that
That's
I'm not in the middle of a
good
big
strategy.
quest line. You know what I mean?
That's
When
good
I come
strategy.
back, I'm like, I was just doing this one mission over and over again. So
yeah.
I'll do it one more time. It'll get back on the horse, and then I'll be good to
And then
go.
you'll be good to go. That makes sense.
I've almost picked it back up 100 times, and I really want to.
It's good.
Yeah.
I've
It's
almost beat it for the second time. And I wouldn't have done that without the story, because I wanted to see the different routes that you can go and what the outcomes are.
So
Okay. I guess it's back to me.
Yeah.
do it.
This one, I don't know. So I've tried to walk a line with this episode where I don't.
I disagree.
Why did Ryan seems ready to jump in, and I have not made a point yet.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't want to say things that people would be like, "Yeah, dude, nobody likes that. That's not a pet peeve. That's
Exactly.
just bad."
Yeah.
And maybe this one falls a little bit more on that side, but for me, I hate when games have like riddles or puzzles that don't have a logical solution. They have like a solution that they've created that is specifically designed to stump you.
You'll have
Like-
to give me an example.
A lot of old point and click adventures. There's
Oh.
there's a game called Escape from
Monkey Island?
It's not Escape from Monkey Island.
It is.
Monkey Island is the moniker of like that series of games.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Monkey Island games, there's like a famous puzzle.
enjoyed a lot of
at
those
one
games.
point where like you have to get something, and to get it you have to like trade a chicken to somebody who wants you to like. It's like 8 steps.
It's not a-
and none of them are like, oh, this person mentioned wanting this thing. It's like just use this item on every
Yeah,
person,
yeah.
and they're like, oh, you have a chicken. I've been wanting one of those, and you have no idea otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of games like I think maybe The Witness is like the opposite of this, where everything in the
example.
world is designed to teach you how to solve those puzzles. And then on the flip side, you have games like to a lesser degree, I guess I should confess I'm pretty bad at riddles and puzzles anyway, but like Persona 5, the reason that I prefer Persona 4 over 5 is that the actual dungeons that you're going through have a lot of puzzles and stuff in them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just let me get through this. Like, I'm here for the characters. I'm here for the combat. I'm not here to solve your dumb puzzles.
Yeah.
And it breaks momentum of games to me to where like I don't want to be the person who's like going to Google the solution, but I know that I'm the person who will eventually just drop the game
entirely
because it shuts the momentum down so much for me.
I think Double Fine has made some good ones.
Double Fine is a pristine
Broken
example.
Age.
Broken Age is the one I was thinking of.
Because you and I played that together.
Yeah.
And we were texting each other, what is that stupid puzzle?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't make any sense. Like what you talked about, like the connective tissue, does it speak narratively to the story? And a lot of it doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh,
and it's just
fair.
like, dude, that is so frustrating.
Grim
There's
Fandango.
no way.
Grim Fandango, Broken Age,
Yeah.
The Day of the Tentacle.
Day of the Tentacle, yeah. But they did Psychonauts, and I think that game has good puzzles.
Yeah.
But there's another one that they did that was like an homage to
Stacking?
to Zelda, where it's called something pretty clever. But basically, like you're Link, the equivalent of Link, and you have like a little USB device that you can plug into anything in the world, and you can change its behavior as if you were the programmer of this game.
Knights and
It's like
Knights?
you can change. No, it's like
I can't think of what you're talking about.
It's gonna drive me nuts.
it's
Sorry,
gonna
go
drive me
ahead.
nuts.
Sorry, not to
It's a
interrupt.
pun, like it's a play on words. That's it. The name is also an homage to Zelda, but it's also an homage to what you're doing. It's like a link to something or
If
whatever.
you're a pirate, drive me nuts means something totally different.
What?
I was silent long enough that I would know where to cut that out in post production.
That's right.
But yeah, so like that game is like, I mean, just an example of doing it well, I guess. Like in contrast to all the other bad puzzle games they've made, the whole world is the puzzle. Like I love games that give you like physics-based puzzles and stuff like that, where it's like you can kind of like cheese your way into a solution, and it feels really good. It feels like it doesn't feel like you cheated. It feels like you outsmarted the game. Yeah, like it's a hard line to walk.
Portal
is on a whole nother level.
Like
those games are.
I never know. Am I playing this game right? I'm beating the game. Did
I
do it the way I'm supposed
Portal
to?
2 has the tightest puzzle design. Like it is. I don't even know if I would consider it a puzzle game because it is so well designed to guide you through, and it does stump you a lot. But the thing is, like you're right. You'll find a solution where it's like,
Did I cheese it?
I think I cheesed my way through this, and the game is just like winking the whole
that's
time.
cheese.
It's like, yeah, but we definitely didn't intend for you to get this very specific solution. You outsmarted us.
Where are you going? You're going outside the game. You're supposed to go there.
What? We don't want you to do that. We didn't make all these weird textures back here for a reason.
Oh, you found that guy that was hiding back there to roll all the stuff on the wall.
We're getting more into Halo than Portal 2, but yeah, I think there are so many good ways to make interesting, fun puzzle designs that take advantage of the fact that you're playing a game and not reading a book or watching a mystery or something, and they just don't do it. And I'm like, just don't put it in. Yeah, just skip this. Like, it's not intuitive. Nobody wants this. No one's having fun. Right. Why did you do this?
Yeah, filler.
Have you played Stacking? It's another Double Fine game.
Yeah, I just said that. That's the one.
Oh, you did. I was zoned out.
Talon has been shouting stacking for 5 minutes now.
I recently played that game, and I was like, nah, not for me.
No.
Yeah.
It's like, it's interesting, but
it's a creative concept, and I was like enjoying the concept.
The concept, but then it's just like,
this game's old.
Yeah.
Whoops. This game real old.
Yeah, I tried to replay Bastion, same experience.
Yeah, I think
this game old.
If I had played, same thing with Bastion when it came out, that game was amazing. Yeah. And I think Stacking is an example of that. Like, for sure. If I had played it when it came out, I've been like, oh, this was really cool.
Yeah, you're stuck in the train station, and you're like, this is kind of cool, and then you're like, and the gimmick's not enough to save the game.
Yeah. It's a product of its time, unfortunately. Yeah. So Ryan,
are we all back onto me? Okay, this one I have dealt with a lot because my friend Andrew wants to play every single MMO that exists, and I have gone along with him on that ride. And bad UI design.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Let me just mark this off my list.
Kills me. Yeah. And MMOs, and I think
MMOs, it's like they feel obligated to make bad UI.
The amount of stuff on the screen, and I actually wrote it down. Eve. Have you seen the UI?
I've tried to play Eve multiple times because I have a friend who was
It's like you're
he
playing
played it
Microsoft
like a
Excel.
job.
It's like
Yeah.
you're playing Excel.
It is.
with a background.
If Excel spreadsheet had graphics, it's what it would be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Truly.
Black Desert also.
Okay.
And you
Black
try
Desert.
and play that game with a controller and navigate your menus. It's
No, I refuse.
I will
I
say
played
haven't-
15 minutes of that game and hit like level 45 because
Yeah.
it is constantly just showering you with graphical like
Yeah.
effects.
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time.
Okay.
You're gaining
a
like
flashy
6
game.
levels per quest, and like it is.
And Andrew loves flashy games, and
Yeah.
I think he wants me to like Black Desert more than I do.
Yeah. He seems like he would like the flashy
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I just that used to be so compelling to me, and now that I've seen like that is the default. You know, even in Call of Duty, it's like Call of Duty wants you to be constantly being rewarded with something, even if it's just like double kill, triple kill, like just screaming stuff at you with big banners and sounds and stuff. So I'm like inoculated to that. I'm very similar to Andrew in the sense that I'll try any MMO once. I've never really found an MMO, and maybe we'll do an episode on this in the future, but like I've tried dozens of MMOs.
I've tried every MMO you can throw.
And
at me.
I never stick with any of them.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's always
the
for a
one
different
I've
reason,
stuck.
but-
There's the two. I guess I've stuck with the longest. And I'm not sure. I know for sure. RuneScape's the one I've stuck with the longest.
That's fair.
World of Warcraft is the other one I stuck with a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those games, the reason that they don't jive with me is the UI specifically. It's always the UI.
I think RuneScape does a pretty good job with the UI.
It's better, but like just having like if I have enough skills where I need to rotate the 1 through 9 keys and what they do multiple times to get to my skills, something's gone horribly
I mean,
wrong.
that's every MMO. That's
Something's
just
gone-
like the MMO.
Stop
thing.
doing that.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Okay.
Everybody stop it.
I'll stop.
Thank you. Diablo doesn't need 18 different bars,
Yeah.
and it basically functions.
The other
as an MMO.
Amazon game I was talking about, Lost Ark. The other Amazon was New World. I think New Worlds or New World.
Yeah, that was a
and-
game that was a huge splash and then just died. Like
I think they've like fixed a few things, but I think like the pretty much only people who are playing it right now are the diehards. And
What's
you have
happening
like
over there,
3
Taylor?
skills. You have like you can switch weapons to get new skills, and you can switch weapons on the fly. But I think you only can equip like 2 weapon types at a time, and then you have like 3 skills per weapon. So as an MMO, it felt a little weird to be super limited on your skills, but they were trying to focus you on the combat. Like, what is?
I don't know.
on?
Going, my next one, man.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you
'Cause-
get
no,
it.
yeah, because what I'm talking about is stupid. Apparently.
You've ruined our UI discussion.
No, I agree.
Do you have any bad UI? games?
Forsaken?
Forsaken.
When it came out,
Remind me what game that is.
PS5. It's like a third-person action adventure. Dude,
just-
the menu, the UI for that is horrible. I was like, who designed this? It feels like early 2000s action adventure UI. It's horrible. It's like a. It's like a. I don't know.
I
it's
said
like
bad
this-
MMO UI, but bad UI in general.
general.
But
Yeah.
MMOs, I think, are
Well, ironically,
the
the
biggest.
problem seems to be that UI, when you say the problem, bad UI is that UI, everyone knows what you're talking about because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's
I've never
like,
played this game.
It's like
Forsaken,
no
I've
one
never-
ever figured out how to solve this problem, so everyone makes the same mistake. It doesn't even feel like people are trying to fix how clunky and unintuitive and like
Right.
just like bloated most UI are. Kenshin, the biggest reason I've never played Kenshin is because with a game that gives you that much freedom, like understanding what verbs you have to use at any one particular time is like critical, and that game is like everything is everywhere. Nothing is in one menu. Like it's just awful.
And you have like 20 different currencies. You've got like blue coins, gold coins. You got this other random currency, like medals and banners and
That's something we
coupons
should
and-
have mentioned with survival games. It's like I don't want to deal with this UI. I've gathered so many
I
resources.
have $1
and I don't
million.
know what to do with them.
I only take brown pieces of paper. Sorry.
Sorry, and we have no conversion.
I'm out of
here.
luck.
yeah, and there's no way to turn your fortune into that.
Do you have any
gotta-
gold berries? No.
I'm not giving you this shirt then.
Right. Yeah.
But the gold berries are where it's cold, and I need your sweater to get there. Shut up.
I was saying, shut up and dash. Shut up.
Let's move on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Talon seems a little.
You guys are
antsy.
gonna love this one.
Uh-huh.
A detailed character creator system.
That's you hate that?
No, well, wait. It gets better, and you spend a lot of time creating your character, and then the in-game stuff is like horrible.
The what looks horrible?
So like you create his face, and then the in-game cutscenes, and it's like half
Oh,
your face is like smushed or flat, and it's
yeah.
like, what? That's what he looks like?
Yeah. It's like the lighting was so different. So,
yeah, it really feels like
Fallout 4 did that
they
to
don't,
me a lot.
They just
don't I think of Mass Effect.
It's worse
Mass
when
Effect's
you
a
make a
great
character
example.
that looks really cool, and then you put them in gear, and it's like, I would beat you up on the playground.
Yeah.
You're the dumbest looking person.
Yeah. But I always remember like Mass Effect. I remember spending so much time just like getting the features and just like everything right, make him look cool. And man, I just remember Commander Shepard's like, hello, and he turns around, his face is flat.
That could have been you, Shepard.
And I'm like, why does he look like a pug? I was like, what?
Shout out to Monster Factory. That's what you should
Monster
do.
Factory.
You should just make the dumbest,
Oh my
ugliest
God.
looking dude.
Yeah.
What an entertaining
Yeah, and it's
series.
just like, man, I can't put a helmet on this guy fast enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I love helmets for, man.
Yeah.
What I guess a pet peeve I haven't mentioned is open-faced helmets when you need to close that stuff.
Turn
Yeah.
the helmet off. Turn the headgear off. Uncheck that button.
You get these like dorky like helmets that
I
just
just
like
don't want to see anything. Unless, yes.
and like my face looks dumb.
Low level gear, it's like
Yeah.
they specifically want you to look
Or you get this like
stupid
you
as
get this like
possible.
Grim Reaper hood, and you
sure
just
Hunter
see
does
your
that.
dude's stupid face in the hood. Like, no, black it out.
No, Gary doesn't look very intimidating in
Yeah.
a hood.
But I'd hate that when you spend so much time creating your character and then you just put him out in the field and you're like, man, who is this doofus?
I think Fallout.
This is the commander?
Yeah.
God, get this guy out of here.
Fallout 4 did that to me because the lighting is so different in the bathroom where you make your character versus the
Yes.
lighting you get out
Yeah.
in the apocalyptic wasteland.
That's right.
Like you're like, my hair color, that's not my hair color. That's
Yeah.
not what I chose.
Dude. Just
Why
like,
did you
man,
give me cave lighting if this game I immediately leave a cave?
Yeah.
Just, man, I can't. That drives me nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It's worse when they don't let you
Yeah.
change it.
Arc,
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Arc Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
The character creator. They have the sliders are like, do you want your guy to look normal or do you want him to look insane? There is one option. There's two options.
Do you want him to look like the most generic person ever, or a monstrosity even God could not love?
Yeah.
Those are your two choices.
Yeah.
I actually, so I only have one thing left after
That was my last thing.
we've doubled up. So the last thing for me is a little bit in that everyone hates this territory too, but specifically bad platforming or
I never heard of it.
shoehorned platforming where you're playing a game that is not a platforming game, but all of a sudden they want you to do that, and the way that
Near.
yeah, sure, yeah. And I don't remember any.
Why does he have a
platforming
double
bits in
jump?
here,
It
but
looks so goofy.
he has a double jump because jumping twice is fun. Too. That's why. But
Have
like,
you heard of triple jump?
I mean,
Yeah,
the first the what? Yes, I have played Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
The one that jumps to my mind first is probably a little unfair, but the Castlevania game on the Nintendo 64, the third,
That is so
the
unfair.
like 3D one.
Wow. Yes.
Dude,
1,000%.
As a kid, I was like, I always just assumed everything was my fault. If I couldn't beat a game, I was like, guess I'm just too stupid.
I thought the first three-dimensional
That is the first game I
Castlevania
played.
game was the one on the 360. I didn't even know about this.
There's
N64.
two.
There's a reason
There's
you don't know
two
about it. There's no
on the
need to
N64.
know about it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've only seen the Metroidvania style ones, and then the
They're
360
they're
ones.
like platform. They are platformers, and
They're
and
horrible.
the only
might
thing
drink.
worse than its platforming is the combat. The combat in those games is also quite bad,
Yes, it is.
as is the audio for Ryan making that noise into the microphone.
You're right here.
When it's delicious, it's
Is that
delicious.
right? You good?
Hang on. Yeah, no, we're good. I guess it's on camera.
Anyways, please.
No,
continue.
I'm just leading space here to cut that out. Anyway, so my point being, don't play the old Castlevania Nintendo 64 game, I guess. But I just don't put platforming in your game at all if you didn't design the controls to function as a platformer. But also, if your game is a platformer, then this is a moot point because the game's just going to be bad anyway. It's not going to be a pet peeve. You're going to have a bad game. So my pet peeve is when they try and like shoehorn a control scheme
They've been
into
nailing
something that doesn't work.
Platformers are such a weird genre of games because they nailed it from the get-go. Like Banjo-Kazooie, Glover, Mario 64. Like the amount of thought they put into Mario.
Yeah, but actually Mario 64 is a bad platformer.
I disagree.
Hot take.
The crazy amount of different things you can do with Mario's movement.
Oh, I don't. That's not my problem. My
yeah.
problem is like you have butter on your feet for some reason, so you always slide just a little further than.
Yeah,
you
I
think
guess
you
that's
will,
true. You do
or,
slide,
like,
but I guess you just you get used to it and you involve that in
and you
your planning
stop
of movement.
playing.
The original Tomb Raider.
No, I like Mario 64. I can go back today and play it just like Banjo-Kazooie. Like they both have, I think, just great
I think Banjo
level
was
design.
way better.
Banjo-Kazooie is I don't know how you improve on it.
I mean, it's just
graphics,
great. But going back to
better story.
Going back to Castlevania 64, that game is
Why are we
great. Shut up.
Why are we going back here? This game I don't know.
Talen's
idiot.
defending it, which is
No,
absolute...
I'm not defending it.
I thought you
just said
just
it was
said it was
great.
great.
Oh, it is great. But
I'm
for-
gonna need a little clarification.
It's great if they would have taken all of those sections out.
Oh, okay.
It
So
would
it's
have been-
bad.
I don't think
No.
that's true.
No,
because
I
the
think-
combat is also
Oh,
like,
it's horrible. Yeah.
worse than the
But I'm
original
just saying-
Resident Evil.
What's
Oh, yeah.
what's good about it?
Yeah, that's my next question.
This
There's
game I
so
know
many
nothing
things
about.
about that game that's just insane. When you turn into a vampire, you remember that? And you couldn't see yourself in the mirror. You turned into a vampire.
I remember trying to whip someone and not
Yeah.
being able to.
Oh man! Almost we should go and find this game and play
when
it.
you look, you're talking about when you look in the mirror and,
and
you don't
can't
have a
see
reflection.
yourself.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
There's a lot of
dude.
cool it's like they had so many cool elements to that game.
Someone
the
at that
Frankenstein in the maze. Dude, there's so many cool stuff about that game.
I
But
think what you mean is that game is a lot of cool ideas wasted on a
Oh,
terrible
yeah.
game.
The writer
Fun
knew what
stuff.
he was doing. Everyone else was like,
Yes, everyone else
dude,
is
the
like
jumping in that
ruin
game
it, right?
is- Yeah. They should have just taken all of those elements out, man. It would have been so much better.
100% agree. Yeah.
That game's intense, man. It's got some crazy stuff in it.
Yeah.
I doubt it's intense.
We'll go back and play it together.
And you Ryan will be like,
I
"This is
wonder
the
if it's
worst
on
game
the
ever."
Nintendo membership on
I doubt
Switch.
it.
I doubt it.
They were
I
probably-
recently-
wouldn't put it on there.
I
but-
recently looked through them, and I keep waiting for Pokemon.
Stadium.
No Stadium's on there. I'm talking about
Is it 2?
one
is it
and
just-
two.
oh, it is
One
one
and
and two?
two. I think
Oh,
are
okay.
both on there.
Yeah.
I think one of them is. I know for sure. Two at least is for sure.
Yeah. But shoehorning elements that aren't specifically your game's made for that.
Yes, that is the bigger, better umbrella.
When it tries
of
to be
what
a
I was
different
talking
game
about.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Specifically.
Yeah. Do you guys remember Winback
Yes, I do.
on Nintendo 64?
I do. I
Nope.
also remember that game.
Cover-based shooting, not on my list. Pretty good. Totally unrelated to this episode. I just wanted to talk about Winback.
Winback.
I had one more.
Okay, cool. I can talk about Winback.
Do it.
I have nothing to say.
Oh, it was one that you were talking about, which was like when you can't map your controls.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I don't really. That doesn't really bother me. I don't really care. I usually just.
I think it's specifically
myself.
when they have
Bad controls.
especially if it's like a port. So I'm playing on PC. It was designed for controllers. You have no idea what I want my keyboard to be mapped as, and you won't let me change it.
Right.
So I either play this terrible port or nothing.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And for some reason, inexplicably, controller support is really bad.
Yeah.
So like that's what I mean when I mean let me change the controls.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not that great at Smash Brothers on the default controls. I need to put my specific.
Keep
Yeah.
Ryan on default
Write that down, write that down!
Yeah.
controls.
We'll give him
Got it.
just the joystick.
Just one.
Just one.
I don't know if that's enough to stop him, to be honest, but I'll try.
Oh, I do have. I just thought of something real quick. When an NPC wants you to follow them, but you run faster than they walk, and they walk slower than you run.
I can't believe nobody
Escort
said this.
missions?
I can't believe nobody said escort missions.
Yeah.
I didn't even put
Yeah,
it because I thought
escort-
for sure one of you
Escort
would put
missions.
it. Escort missions, which is that's a part of it, is that mechanically it seems like no human being is capable of understanding what makes escort missions good because no one's ever done it. It's always they are either too slow or they like keep getting distracted by stuff. Like when an enemy shows up, they'll fight it, and I'm like, don't fight. Why am I here?
Right.
You just run. Just run.
The AI is never what it needs to be for escort missions.
No,
Like
for the enemy or the allies.
Yeah, exactly.
Either
the
one.
AI is absolutely terrible for whatever you're trying to get from point A to point B.
It's either way too far away or
Yeah.
the enemy, like there's way too many enemies.
Yeah.
Like fundamentally, people don't seem to understand.
think a
It's
good
not just that I don't want to take person from point A to point B, which I don't.
Right,
It's
which I
also
do,
that it is all bad all the way there.
When you can position what you're like, if you have a simple targeting system set up where you can like point at a place and then the person you're escorting goes to that point.
Yeah.
So you can like strategically place them in the world and you don't have to rely on AI. I think that's when it can shine.
Yeah.
And
Do
I
you
can't-
know any games that do
I
that?
was just about to say I can't think of
Resident
a good
Evil 4.
example.
You can tell Ashley to go inside like a dumpster or stay there or stay with me, stay on me.
I would never stop telling Ashley to go inside a dumpster. Get in that dumpster.
Yeah.
You can tell
Is
her
it
to
safe
do
to
that.
come out now? No,
That way
stay in
you
the
can clear
dumpster.
out the enemies and come back and she's there.
And that I think gives
Also, when
it a
she-
little strategy.
Yeah.
And it keeps
Yes,
it interesting.
it
That's
does.
my canonical
But it's also
ending
not for the
that.
whole game.
Like, oh, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
if it was,
You get like Grand Theft Auto, you get these escort missions, or
God,
like,
dude.
Jack,
Those are bad
I'm going
because-
off for a ravine. I'm going on a jump. I'm just
Not just that, but it's like
gonna explode.
Grand Theft Auto, even if you're not playing it, those games go off the rails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NPCs will start fighting each other for being too close or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way do I want to do an escort mission in
The,
that world.
Yeah.
Jack and Daxter was just a platformer that I loved. And then Jack 2 and Jack 3 incorporate more Grand Theft Auto style like missions that you do, and they have escort missions. And I died a million times, or not died, but failed the mission a
Right.
million times on. I can't remember if it was Jack 2 or Jack 3. Probably Jack 3.
Yeah.
Like super difficult missions because they're escort missions.
Yeah.
Not because I'm bad at the game. It's just because like my dude doesn't know what to do.
Right.
Okay, I won't
Yeah.
stretch the podcast out any longer, but in general, that as a topic is my pick. Is that like just don't do that
Yeah.
mechanically at all.
Yeah.
I hate
Yeah.
that.
If you took the escort missions out of those games, that'd be great.
I just thought of something else.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It makes me think of Assassin's Creed because when you're trying to just follow an NPC and like I just said
And the
before,
AI,
and and they're like I said they're walking too slow and they're But anyways, but going
That,
back,
but like
when you
Assassin's Creed, the controls in that game are a huge reason why escort missions are hard because I can barely get my character where I want him
Yeah.
to go. I can't
when you're
protect
doing a
somebody else.
stealth mission and you automatically fail if you're seen. Count me out.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, okay.
I'm gone,
yes,
bro.
I
In
haven't.
a crowd of people.
It's
Yeah.
been so long since I had to deal with that I didn't think about it. But that's
that, dude.
almost beyond. I don't know what's above pet peeve, but like auto failing
Brother
stuff
peeve.
Yeah.
when even within the narrative.
Yeah.
It's not your pet, it's your brother.
Skipping over it.
Dad peeve.
My dad peeve, my granddad peeve,
Mm-hmm.
is when games just are like, "Oh no, you fail instantly." And I'm
Yeah.
like, I could kill these people too, or I could knock them out, or I'm actually wearing a disguise. None of this matters. And
Yeah.
they're like, they turned slightly to the left and saw you out of their peripheral vision,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore, there's no saving you.
Yeah. I hate that.
And usually those games have terrible save points.
Mm-hmm.
So
They have all those pet peeves
to bring it
in
all the
one
way
game.
back around.
That's right.
usually you have to start at the beginning of the mission, and no one wants to do
That Gollum game.
Oh my god, dude, horrible.
I was watching
Goaty.
Donkey play.
Goaty, right?
Where
Yes, 100%.
the autosave
Yeah.
grabbed this guy playing it right before he was caught.
Yeah.
And so like he loads back to autosave and is caught, loads back to autosave and is caught. Can't even move his character by the time he's caught. Yeah.
In that game in particular, it's like you will get caught through walls. Like enemies will like clip into a wall and see you, and you'll get caught, and you'll be like, "By who?"
Yeah.
You don't even know where they are.
Just a face comes through the wall. I see you.
Yeah.
yeah. We should do an episode on just like very bad games.
Yeah.
Like games so bad they're good.
So bad that well, that doesn't count.
That's
I don't think it counts. It's fun to watch.
Like,
It's
I
so
would
bad.
wanna
It's
play it.
horrible. Yeah.
like Paul Blart, Mall Cop 2.
Classic.
That's the end of the episode, I guess.
All right.
Yeah, that's everything I had. Stop doing that, guys.
Yeah. Don't do
Just
that.
a shout out to
If you do
developers.
it better than anyone's ever
Yeah.
done
Do it,
before.
If you do it, just do it the best it's ever been done.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Ryan, take us out, man.
First, I'd like to thank. Yeah, get ready, buckle up.
I'm not ready.
Ryan, take us out and redo the intro.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just kidding. Kind of.
Well, anyways, thanks for joining us. This concludes our episode.
Yes.
First off, we want to thank Sam Webster for letting us use his dope tracks. We have Clock Out and Clock In on this episode.
In reverse. We have Clock Out at the beginning. And
Clock In is our intro. Clock Out is the... Clock Out is the intro. Clock In is the...
Outro.
Yeah.
It is.
I can do it. I can word.
Just know that Sam Webster makes some sick beats.
Yeah.
And
That's
you
right.
should definitely check out
And
Grindstone.
he's coming out with new music.
Yeah.
And it's all good.
That's right. And we would love to hear you guys' pet peeves.
Pet
So-
peeves.
Oh,
You can
yeah,
hit us up.
absolutely. Let us know what your pet peeves are. I love hearing people's
Yeah.
pet peeves.
Yeah, that's right.
You can hit us up on our Gmail, didisavepodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. Questions, comments. If
yeah.
you think we could do things better.
That's right.
Don't
Or-
mention the intro in this episode.
Please, I need to know notes on how to do that better.
Okay. I'll give you some notes.
That's right.
We're also on Blue Sky at Did I Save Podcast. We're on TikTok at Did I Save Podcast. We are on YouTube. If you want to watch this or if you're watching it and you want to listen to it, we have podcast and video versions available.
And we also play video games together, and we put some of the stuff
We
on
do.
YouTube.
We're on
right.
Twitch. Everything is at Did I Save Podcast. So we
Yeah.
got pretty lucky with the name. It's easy to snatch up all that stuff.
That's because the
That's
name's bad.
I kind of like it. Yeah, thanks. Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Sounds good. And don't forget to stay
Stay safe, yeah.